recording now. We are also Facebook Live at the same time. So welcome to this webinar. We called it, Is Sustainable Fashion Finally Sustainable? So we have 4 ladies with us today. We have Adele, Hannah, Agnes, and Tony. 4 fabulous ladies, and they will give us some insight into sustainable fashion. They'll guide us through some of the myths about slow fashion. As I mentioned at the beginning, my name is Danielle, and I'm one of the co-founders of the Green Collective. But before we start, I'd like to give you just a little overview of the Green Collective. Pefan, if you can share the slide. Yeah. So the Green Collective is a collective, actually. It's a business run on a cooperative model. We work with about currently 42 local sustainable brands, and we provide those brands with a brick and mortar space to retail their sustainable items. The Green Collective is actually the first business in Singapore curated on the Sustainable Development Goals. And so we are at Funan, but we also just launched our e-commerce online, and the address is going to be shown a little bit later in the slides. So first, I'd like to welcome those 4 ladies with a very brief introduction, each of you. So the first one is Adele. Adele, tell us your name, Adele, and what you do in your business. Just one or 2 sentences. Whoop, Adele. Adele is muted. Peifen, can you unmute Adele? Peifen, can you please unmute Adele? There you go.
Hi.
All right.
Hi, my name is Adele, and I run Muta.wear and work mainly with upcycling textile waste.
All right. Agnes, you're next. Peifen, can you unmute Agnes? Peifen, can you unmute Agnes, please? There you go.
Hi. Okay, hi. I'm Agnes from twopluso. I'm the founder. We are a local eco-friendly apparel brand.
For kids, yes?
Yes, for kids for now. We are planning to wear soon, maybe end of the next year. All
right. Thank you. Welcome, Agnes. Hannah, Peifen, can you unmute Hannah? Please.
Should be.
There you go.
Hey, I'm Hannah. I'm one half of aNERDstore. We're a brand incorporating heritage textile made in Indonesia, focusing on batik and tenun.
Welcome, Hannah. And then finally, Tony.
Hello, I'm Tony. I'm the founder of August Society. So we make sustainable swimwear for the whole family out of recycled and regenerated plastic waste.
Cool. Welcome, Tony. So I'd like to do a little poll to start with the attendees. So Peifen, can you do the poll? It's a 1-question poll actually. Before we start, where are you on your sustainable journey as a consumer? Just click on where you are at the moment, and we'll just wait a few seconds to see the results. The first one would have been me about 8 years ago. I know nothing about sustainable fashion. There was a moment that was a really eye-opener when I lived in a very polluted country in Korea. But I would have answered, I know nothing, absolutely nothing. I did not even knew the concept of sustainable fashion. Things change. Are we getting?
The movement has changed a lot within the past decade.
Definitely. Definitely. Peifen, are we getting any results on the poll?
Yeah. Or should we just?
Oh, yes. Okay, there you go. Right. Okay, so 25% know nothing about sustainable fashion. 50%, I like the idea, but I don't know much. And then 25% only buy sustainable fashion. Wow, that's nice. And nobody's making their clothes. That's a big step.
Adele, did you not vote?
Yes.
Oh, do I have to? Oops, sorry.
All right. So that's a very interesting though. It's not surprising. I like the idea of sustainable fashion, but I don't know much about it and why it's important. This is not a surprising result actually. So we'll help you know a little bit more about sustainable fashion. So we're going to start by introducing properly those four ladies and what is it exactly, ladies, that makes your business sustainable? Why do you say you run a sustainable brand? So I think the first one is Adele, yes? So you've got a few slides.
Okay. Sorry to start with such a tragic image, but I guess to be honest, it was the Rana Plaza disaster in 2013 that was a personal wake-up call. Essentially, I studied fashion in RMIT Melbourne from 2007 to 2009, and I stayed there to work until 2011. 2007 was the beginning of the slow food movement and the 100-mile movement in Melbourne. So in Australia, sustainability within the food industry was already taking off. 2007 was how many years ago? More than 10 years ago. So the philosophies of these movements were already kind of leaking into education. And so in fashion school, we were having all these, all this indoctrinated into us, and like our lecturers were always encouraging us and or basically scolding us into, or at least we were taught to believe that designers know the key to the future, and we can save the world with better design decisions. So yeah, and so, but I had to come back to Singapore at some point, and sustainable fashion was not present here in 2011. So I was quite resigned to just working in fast fashion forever, and I guess sometimes for the sake of your rice bowl, you kind of give up your soul, right? So the Rana Plaza disaster in 2013 was a bit of a trigger catalyst to basically motivate myself to turn my back on fast fashion and find another route. So in terms of my fashion philosophy, then it's on the next slide. So I do a few things when I upcycle product. I try my best to reach zero waste reconstruction, and I do try with varied results to have multi-way, multi-purpose function. That means the dress or the skirt is fully reversible, or it can be worn multiple ways, or even upside down. Like the piece on the extreme right can be worn about 8 or 10 different ways, which which is quite a nightmare for salespeople. they don't get how to like hang the garment back. Anyway, so I also think about rescuing and repairing. And I'm very much into the afterlife of the product. So it's pretty important for me to think about what happens to every single piece at the point when the user is sick of it and wants to discard it. And I do have a product lifetime repair guarantee as well, and I will accept returns for recycling. So if at some point somebody doesn't like their thing anymore and they want to give it back to me, and I will recycle it. And I also teach workshops, and I do lots of collaborating with everybody. I try to collaborate with everyone at the Green Collective as well. And some takeaway thoughts. Am I running out of time? Next slide. So the takeaway I hope to be, I guess, discussing today is that ultimately we do no harm that to planet and people. I strongly believe that circularity and equality means that humanity has a future, and that we should completely change our concept and approach to waste. We need to turn waste into resource. All of this is part of the circular economy philosophy. And of course, one of the methods is to use upcycling. There are many other methods as well. For my own production and my own making, I always look at the transformation and mutation as a form of elevation. That means adding value. This is what upcycling is all about. I try to source only ethical and sustainable materials, plant-based. I'm actually still struggling with that because it's very difficult to not come into contact with animal byproduct, as well as polyester nylon textile waste. In fact, I still have several kilos of lanyards, like nylon lanyards, which I need to process into something. And of course, slow custom and anti-mass production. So customizations are a big deal. I think a lot of people enjoy the customization process because they engage with me, and I guess I'm a nice person to engage with. So yeah, okay.
That's a nice service to provide. One good example of cooperation is I also do have a slow fashion brand, and not all, but Adele is regularly taking off-cuts, leftover fabric from my collection. And then, Peyton, if you can go back 2 slides, the purple dress in the middle is actually...
Oh, yes. Yes. You recognize your own off-cut.
Yes, I recognize my fabric.
Yes. The purple
I always ask my supplier when I design a collection to send the leftover fabric. And then I pass some to Adele also, so it's fabulous. So this fabric now is turned into a beautiful upcycled dress. So it's beautiful, very nice. Agnes, you're the next one. Tell us more about why is your business sustainable?
Okay. I'm, how do I say? Okay. We use only renewable fabrics, so like organic cottons, because I start off for kids apparel, so I'm always looking out for fabrics that are more suitable for the kids. So that's why after I sourced for organic cotton, I realized that tencel is another better option. Yeah, so going forward, our collection all will be tencel. Yeah, so as a mother, I feel that I need to give comfort to all the kids because, you know, they are growing up and their daily activities and all that. They need to have comfortable clothes to be with them. Yeah, so that's why all I can say is that we all want to look good and feel good. So why not we wear something that you feel good in wearing and you look good in wearing them. So I design, the clothes that I design is all more on the basic wear. So it's gender neutral, so that it's like everyone can share. That's the main purpose of, like, you know, passing down and all that. And regardless you're a boy or girl, you can just share the same piece of clothes. Yeah.
It's great. Cool. Okay. I wish I had young kids.
But it's okay. I'm going for ladies, so it's okay.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
That's good. All right. Next is Hannah.
Hello. I'll try to keep it short. So our missions, we didn't start out as a fashion brand because our focus is on the fabric of batik. So this is on like the human side, the social side of sustainability, right? So our mission is to preserve batik and tenun techniques as a cultural heritage and sustainable source of income for the textile artists and the seamstresses in Indonesia. That's the start of our basis. That's the start of our of our business. So when we wanted to so this whole brand was started by Tony, not Tony Augustati, but my now business partner Tony, who sells batik as an art piece. And then so I was like one of his first customers, of course, and one of aNERDstore's first customers. And I was like, hey, I want to wear your pieces, and he was like, well, right, which I like doing. I actually wear as a, I like to wear it as a wrap, but I'm like, but practicality demands that we should wear something that is easy, right? And so looking at the state of the fashion industry globally and the need for better practices and the gap that the batik makers can provide, that they can fill the gap, we saw the opportunity to make batik better for all parties involved. And so that's the basis of our sustainability efforts. And thanks to the Green Collective, we are constantly trying to improve, because you're always surrounded by like different brands who are like, oh, they're doing this, or you're using tencel only, using organic recycled polyester or recycled plastic maybe, and all these like very good efforts. So we always keep ourselves in check. And also because you don't just get to pick one sustainable development goal to work on and sacrifice all others. The bottom line is sustainable practices must be sustainable in order to be sustainable. And of course, thankfully it's a virtual chat. Nobody can come and slap me for using the words so many times. And can you go to the next slide? Okay. So the basis of sustainability, you might have heard of this, the triple bottom line, which is all interconnected. For us, we started with the people, the makers first, like job creation and income generation for the makers. Tony and myself are both Indonesian, so we do want to give back to our own community. And with that, also, of course, the wearers, the people, our customers are very important, because we want to make versatile quality pieces that can last a long time. And so the very one kind model, which is that's one of our hashtag very one kind. Like you have one piece of cloth that you can be transformed into many outfits, including a tablecloth. But we also want to make clothes that is easy to wear. So that's us. And then the second pillar, the planet side, is just I'm not going to go into it too much, because we just did another talk with the Green Collective. You guys can go back and look at what we're doing to support artisans. And so for the planet, what we are doing is trying to, we all have zero waste aspirations, like the other brands as well, but it's an aspiration, right? We're trying to do this by limiting packaging. If you go to the Green Collective, it's you don't get to, it's not wrapped, no packaging. And now with online with online purchases, we are finally getting to use our backlog of plastics that we told our makers to stop giving us. Like, please don't wrap individually. There is really no need for it. We have to wash our clothes anyway. So because of online purchases, we get to use them. And also design-wise, we work with design partners who create zero waste patterns, meaning one piece of cloth. So most of the fabric, batik fabric, starts with a 2+ by 1+ meter. You can make the patterns in such a way that after you cut everything, there's nothing left. But that's of course like limited in design. So we also have cut cloth, and then the leftovers of which, like what Zai is doing, is to use it into other products. For us, we make it into the smaller accessories. And the last but not least, and of course, so we all know that dyeing for the fabric is quite toxic. So we are trying to create demand for natural dye, trying to do education as well. And a natural dye actually takes a long time to make, because you have to dip dye, you have to remove it, dry it, and then hang it to dry, and then come back and then dip dye again. It takes a long time. So it is more expensive. So we are trying to make it sustainable, economically sustainable, by mixing both, right? So first introduce people to batik and what is real batik, which is handmade by humans, and then subsequently introducing them. This is natural dye. When you use natural dye, you don't throw toxic waste into the ocean. into the waters, basically. And last but not least, the third pillar is prosperity or profit. So creating positive economic impact for the makers, for the artisans, the seamstresses, is something that we hold very dearly, because it's very cheap to get fabric printed and for clothes to be made. But of course, we have to ask ourselves, do you want to be part of the problem or part of the solution, right? Because so the most seamstresses get paid per piece usually, so quality is not always a priority. So they are very much incentivized to work like 18-hour days to create as many as possible in order to make ends meet, right? But we are trying to eradicate that practice. Eradicate, like I'm so big like that, but no, we're not there yet. We're trying to get there, but like pay enough per piece so that they are incentivized to do quality products instead, and they don't have to work 18-hour days just to be able to feed themselves. So that's a bit about us.
Yeah, that's great. I really like this idea of having a skirt becoming a tablecloth, actually.
We have that.
That's interesting. Thank you, Hannah. And the fourth lady is Tony.
Okay, great. So swimwear is a bit the problem child of sustainable fashion, I would say, because there's really not much you can do about getting around using synthetic fibers, right? So, I mean, imagine having a bikini made out of bamboo or tencel and trying to wear that in the pool, in the ocean. That's gonna last you, like, first of all, it's gonna be a big soggy mess, right? And then it's gonna last you 3 wears and you're gonna have to throw it away. And then that kind of defeats the whole purpose, right? So you have to use synthetic fibers. So we're talking nylon, polyester, which are derived from petroleum products, right? So it comes from oil, which comes out of the ground, which is non-renewable, and they're essentially plastics that won't biodegrade for 400 plus years after you throw it away. Or in Singapore, it gets burned, and then you release all the toxic chemicals into the air that we breathe, right? So lovely, lovely stuff. So how can we solve this problem? Oh, the other end, sorry, of swimwear is that you also cannot dispose of it in a way that is sustainable either, right? So you cannot donate it. Nobody's going to want your gross swimsuit. You can't sell it. You can't swap it. So the only thing you can do is throw it away, right? Once it's done its life. So at August Society, I'm trying to solve kind of both of those issues with swimwear. So if we go to the next slide. Yeah, so all of our swimsuits are made out of raw materials that come from recycled and regenerated plastic waste. So that means things like PET water bottles. So these are like your disposable one-time drinking bottles that you might throw in the recycling bin. And then also raw materials like ghost fishing nets. So these are nylon fishing nets that actually are part of the fishing industry. So what most fishing trawlers do is that they take these massive fishing nets, they throw them into the ocean with these buoys, and then they like kind of catch fish in like one giant swoop. And then a lot of times these fishing nets either get discarded either accidentally or on purpose because they don't need it anymore, and they end up in the ocean polluting the marine life there. So, you know, turtles get caught in it, like this poor little turtle that we see here, and whales eat it, and then it ends up being, I think right now they're estimating there's 640,000 tons of these nets in the ocean, which account for 10% of all marine litter. So it's actually a really big problem. So my supplier actually has an NGO that goes in with these big, you know, trawlers and these big machines that recover these nets from the ocean. They take these nets, they take things like carpet fluff from nylon carpet manufacturing, and then they also take used carpeting. So imagine like a convention at Marina Bay Sands or something like that. They lay down like so many meters and meters and meters of brand new carpeting, and then after 3 days, they rip it up and they throw it away. So they take stuff like this and they actually use a process called repolymerization. So they actually break it down at the molecular level or the chemical level, and then they regenerate nylon fibers. So it's actually called Econel. It's an Italian company that does it. And so then my fabric mill buys these fibers, and then they mix it with spandex and they spin it into yarns that they weave into fabrics. So that's kind of what goes into the swimwear and what we mean by recycled and regenerated fabrics. So then if we go to the next slide, from a design perspective, I also try to make my designs sustainable by making them as long lasting as possible. So the fabric also contains extra life lycra, which means that it's a special kind of spandex that causes the fabrics to hold its shape better. So it lasts longer. And so like say one of my swimsuits could last you, 5 or 10 years if you really take care of it. So then you could say that, you only have one swimsuit that you end up wearing out for 5 or 10 years, as opposed to maybe like 5 or 10 swimsuits that you have to keep buying every year and every season that you get from like a fast fashion company, for example. I also try to make the pieces multi-use and reversible and mix and match. So you can really use them for as many different things as possible. So for example, some of the bikini tops can be used as like yoga tops or sports bras. I also do like leggings. I'm going to be introducing shorts soon, which can be used for swimming and then also running. So I've even put like a pocket on the side so you can stick your phone in there and go running. And then they're also reversible. So when you go on a trip, when we, at some point, hopefully we will be able to travel again, then you only need to pack 1 or 2 swimsuits instead of like 4 or 5 if you want to get like, all your different Instagram looks for the week that you're in Bali. Right, so then I'm also looking at for the kids collection. So I also have, a little mini me collection for the little ones. And I try to make those gender neutral as possible, so that like both your son and your daughter can wear it, so you can hand it down and it's not just it's not just discarded after one kid. So I found that after having 2 kids of different genders, they were both just like, they actually both just loved wearing the same thing. So it's useful for them just to be able to wear things that aren't going to get them stared at the pool, even though I'm trying to raise 2 feminists, but some people are narrow-minded like that. And so, so trying from a design perspective to basically allow you to keep your swimsuits as long as you can and just keep using them for different purposes, to keep them out of the landfill. So so that's what we do. Oh, I think Danielle is muted.
Yes.
If they then can unmute her, please.
Yeah, let me try to
Unmute. There you go.
Yeah.
It says cannot unmute yourself. Okay. For some reason. I can vouch for that. I have one of your swimsuits also, Tony. They do last a long time. And it's great because they're reversible. So I feel like, even though I don't take selfies for my Instagram, I'm always wearing a different swimsuit. So for what I know and what I notice and listening to you also, we could actually separate slow fashion, sustainable fashion into 2 categories. There's the eco impact, and then there's a social impact. It's like kind of a big green umbrella, sustainable or slow fashion, and underneath there's different section. But clearly the eco and the social impact are 2 major ones. And this is what I would like to chat about in the next few minutes. There's definitely a major environmental impact. Sorry. It's the second most polluting industry in the world at the moment. You can see on the slide, there's about 92 million tons of textile waste each year globally, so worldwide. And by 2030, it's expected to go up to 134 million tons of textile per year. Now, Adele is using a little bit of that, but it's, there's definitely a big change needed here, right? I think Tony and Adele, you're focusing a bit more on the eco impact. So I'd like to have your views on this subject. What do you think? From 92 now, which is already huge, to 134, while we're thinking and hoping that actually more and more people will think before they buy and will start choosing smartly and looking at the label and everything, numbers are saying the opposite. This is growing. There's more and more people just buying cheap stuff and wearing it once or twice, and there is no guilt feeling because they haven't paid much for it. They never thought about the person who's sewn it behind. There's no story behind your mass-produced T-shirt. So maybe Tony, Adele, you want to pitch in? What do you think about all this?
Yeah. Actually, you know what you just said about the price, right? That people pay. Is I don't know. There was a company in the UK. I can't remember which one it was. It was one of the supermarkets or whatever that they were selling like, you know, a 99p bikini, like 99 pence bikini. So how can
Yes.
you how can you possibly make a swimsuit for under a pound, right? Like, and so and you know, when you're saying that there's two major pillars of ecological and social, actually, when you think about it, they kind of go hand in hand, because if we don't pay people enough and we pay them,
Yeah.
you know, as Hannah was talking about, not paying them a living wage in terms of, you know, paying by piece and all of that, and then you can make a 99 pence bikini basically, or, you know, a $5 t-shirt or whatever, and then people don't think about it. They end up buying, taking their, you know, their Instagram lifestyle, right? They take their photo. You can't be seen in the same outfit twice, right? It's not outfit of the week, it's outfit of the day, right? So, and then they throw it away because they don't really know what to do with it, or they can't, you know, they don't even want to think about what to do with it, right? Or even if they wanted to give it away, it has a hole in it because, or they wore it once and it's already coming apart because it was so cheaply made, right? So, so these things are actually interrelated, right? If you end up paying people more, using higher quality products, then the products will end up costing more. Then, I mean, people, they have to, I mean, the thing is, people are going to have to want to buy it, is the thing, right? They're so used to buying crappy things.
And
It's
then,
like a bit of a chicken and egg, right? Yeah.
yes, and then there's something in between is the marketing, because that company created a lot of buzz. You know, they've been talked about, this company, for that 99 cents swimwear or bikini or whatever it was. So they probably, I'm sure they sold that item at a loss. It's almost impossible to manufacture something for so cheap, right?
Yeah.
So it was just, to me, I think it was just a marketing scheme, honestly, to attract people to their company and to their website. They probably sold, but maybe they upsold something on top of that
Something
bikini,
else.
right? Yeah.
Yep.
Adele, what do you think?
I have a bit of an alternative viewpoint on this, which is
Okay.
I did work in the corporate uniform industry for a little bit. And okay, so a lot of this statistic tends to focus on the so-called lousy consumer choices of the individual consumer. But actually, there's also a lot of corporation-induced textile waste. Like, for example, I think casinos and hotels renew their entire uniform design roughly every few years, which means that all the old uniforms get all thrown out. And if you look at a huge hotel or casino chain, I don't know how they break it down, but you know, with maybe tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of staff all over the world, if they change if they all decide to change their uniform at the same time, I hope they don't, oh my god, can you imagine how many old uniforms get thrown out on a regular basis? And then there's also military operations. I believe lots of textile waste is also generated with wars, and there's so much that is very, I would call it mega corporatized. Like the Standard Chartered marathon run, every year they overorder the running jerseys and they throw away. I would say almost I don't know how many recycle bins worth of the running jerseys that get donated. I mean we do donate it to Salvation Army in Singapore, but Salvation Army ends up not being able to resell or cope with this all these extra running jerseys because it's branded. They can't resell it in their thrift shop. So they end up reselling it to, they do try. If Indonesia's second-hand market did not ban waste import from external markets, and if the South African second-hand market is still buying, which I think a lot of these countries that are taking in textile waste in a huge way from us, from the more developed, I suppose, first world nations, if they don't, and they are starting to ban, so they're starting to ban these imports from the rest of us, the rest of the world. So if that part of the market stops, then where does all of this stuff go?
It's about time you all clean up after yourselves, right?
Yes, exactly.
But
Yes.
there's no spotlight that's being shone on all the waste that's being generated from huge corporate events
Right.
or, you know, big decisions made
That's
by
true.
MNCs. Yeah, just if a bus company, like a big bus company, decides to reupholster all of their bus seats, for example, it's huge as well, and it's generating a lot of stuff that is very used, very stained, very gross. Yeah, so that's another perspective on it, and
Mm.
these are not things that I suppose as an individual, if you find out about such things, you could talk about it and discuss it, but these are not things that are transparently revealed to the individual consumer, and therefore we don't know that all of this is happening. Like, I can tell you about this because I kind of know, but I also do not know how nightmarish the quantity actually is, because we are all dislocated from all of this. We don't see the bulk of it, but I would encourage everyone to visit the Salvation Army at is it Tanglin, their HQ, because they have a huge processing space, and you can see for yourself how they sell these immense 1 ton by 1 ton packages of textile waste abroad. And once that avenue of fundraising for them shuts down, I really don't know what's going to happen. It's probably all going to get sent to incineration. That's very scary as well.
Mm. Yeah, good point. Yeah, I guess you start by doing whatever you can as an individual, and then at some point social pressure may have an impact on those bigger corporation. I suppose that's one hope that we can nurture. You know, that's pretty much all we can do as individual to start with, but it's better than nothing. Lead by example, I suppose.
But there is also an opportunity there. I think some time ago, Tony and I, we actually met with this guy who was trying to find a business opportunity in upcycling office furniture, like discarded office furniture, and he was looking for upholstery options, and he thought, and I had this crazy idea that maybe the discarded swimwear could make interesting furniture
Seat
upholstery
covers.
and upcycling, but
Okay.
that did not quite work out. Yeah.
Oh,
Mm.
okay. I mean, we could keep talking about the eco impact for a long time for sure. There's so many things that we could elaborate on, but I would like to hear a bit more so about the social impact that fast fashion has. And Anna and Agnes are a bit more knowledgeable on that sense. So there's once in a while you hear of a story. There was that lady in Turkey that put a note into one of the Zara dress or something. You know, there's regularly something like this that comes up, that pops up, that shows the world that some people are actually almost treated as slave. It's modern slavery, but it's still some form of slavery, really. And then some big brands really often get caught. And we're not going to name names, but many of those big brands who get caught, they actually were screaming out loud how good they were, you know, with their social enterprises, and not enterprise, but with their the social side of their business and the environmental impact and blah, blah, blah. And then, oops, maybe spoke too fast or too loud, but it's there. I feel that there is more and more outrage by people when those things happens. But unfortunately, it keeps happening. And thanks to social media, we know more about those. It's been there forever. We just didn't know about all those incidents or mistreatment that all those workers are suffering from. What do you think, Hannah and Agnes? Is there anything we can do?
There are cheap labels, right? Then false label.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
I think
how, so,
yeah.
yeah, go ahead.
Well, so I think from our end, the only thing we can do is to like reduce the demand, right? Try to kill the demand for things which are cheap and low quality, right? It's what Tony was mentioning earlier. If your bikini costs 99p, yes, it's only two triangles, but you know, it's only two triangles, but how you know, there is lining and everything. So that's the fabric, and then there is also the manpower. If you, how long does it take to create something, right? And how long does it take to I mean, how long will it take to make it to wear it, to make it worn and just destroy it, because you wear it one time and then I used to be one of those people who just, you know, wear cheap fashion. I guess I probably still have some very old stuff as well, but basically there are things that starts fraying the moment you start washing it, you know, like so I guess you got to think about what kind of a person that you want to be, right? Like, and yeah, I think, and Agnes will probably be able to talk about it. You know, like once you have kids, you will know, like, do you really want this, you know,
No,
like
you know,
onto
some
the skin?
of the cheap stuff is just like they fade, or the color just run out and all that. And just because it's cheap and we buy. And okay, because I need to say that because my son, his skin is more sensitive and allergic. So sometimes, I mean, I do buy some stuff that is cheap, like t-shirts, you know, that only cost you like $5. But no, he has eczema just flared out anywhere, the whole body. So that teach me a lesson that no, I'm not going to support them, because if I support them, yes, I buy cheap, but I need to pay a lot of medical bills. So to me, that's not worth it. So
Yeah.
So that's why what we can do, I mean, as in usually for my production, we always look out for certificates to make sure that they are really real, and we can, you know, we can use, and the whole process and all the selections we need to really start from scratch to look at, and the fair wages, and make sure that the manufacturer doesn't really like cheap labels and all that. Yeah, so
Okay.
then we go there for interview to make sure that the workers are real and they are not being mistreated, and they really have a proper place to stay and proper lunch.
That was my next question, actually. How do you make sure that your product is socially conscious? So Agnes, you say you go there, you go and visit your suppliers, yes?
Yes.
Okay.
We went for 3 or 4 different factories to see how's the area like, and what's like, how do they, I mean, as in, usually we will give them surprise, we not let them know that we are coming, like we will tell them like maybe 1 or 2 weeks in advance, of course. Yeah, but because we don't want to let them have too much preparation, so that, you know, sometimes they will just, maybe they will lie to us or something like that. Yeah, so the thing that we can do is sometimes we do interview certain stuff, like maybe when they are just sewing something, then we just have a little chat with them, and hopefully we can hear something out from them. But so far, yes, thankfully the manufacturer that we find are still okay.
Okay. And on the opposite, how do you make sure that your product is eco-conscious? Tony, did you manage to go see your supplier?
Yeah, so well, I went to see my factories, so not the suppliers for the actual manufacturing of the fabric and the recycling. That's done mostly in Europe. But I have been to both China and Bali to see the factories that I was using to supply the swimwear. Yeah.
Okay. Because when I was manufacturing bamboo clothing, not me manufacturing, but I used the main manufacturer who has the patent for bamboo fabric in China, and because they have the patent, then they have all the certificates, they have their own bamboo forest, they have the closed loop system. They were the most secure one, but I tried and tried and tried to go there. They would never ever let me in. Like, it's a state secret. There's no way they're gonna allow anyone in there.
In China?
Yes. So I've been fighting really. I really wanted to go, but there's this, I've never been able to. So there's these things when they say yes, but you know, it can be no. So it's a bit tricky. You kind of need to rely in a situation. Yes. So in a situation like me, I mean, the manufacturing, I used to work in Malaysia. I've been and I've met the ladies, a small family-owned factory. The ladies were just a very small, that was great. But my fabric supplier, I tried as much as I could, but there was no way I could arrange a visit and get any proof of whatever. So you kind of at some point have to rely on what they say. But this can be a bit tricky sometimes. Yeah, definitely. My next question is about packaging. This is one thing I always struggle since I'm in business. You have no choice. When you bring your things to Singapore, you have to protect your items. You have to wrap them somehow. And once it's here, you need to store it somewhere. So you can't just pile everything loose, you know, in the warehouse. You have to protect it. Plastic, unfortunately, is the way to protect things. So what solution did you find? Did you find a solution, actually?
Did I tell you guys about my cassava bag incident? That was
no?
The factory in Bali that I was using, they were just like, oh, you know, we have these new the cassava plastic bag, or they're not plastic, but they're the
plastic
the alternative, right? Plastic alternative.
Yes.
They're made out of cassava. They will essentially dissolve. I think so. I never actually tried this. I should actually try it one day and see what happens. But you know, you're supposed to be able to take boiling water and stir it, and the bag will actually end up dissolving in the because it's just made out of cassava starch, right? Like a root vegetable. And so then I was like, oh, perfect. This is great. Not plastic. Let's go for it. So the thing is that factory, a lot of their existing clients actually are European countries, or in European countries, Nordic countries. They had a big Finnish swimwear brand that was ordering. So it was fine. It gets sent over to Finland and sits in the warehouse and it's okay. But then it got sent over to Singapore. And my warehouse did not have air conditioning and it was kind of open and windy and all of that, and it was fine. And then we got a shipment of the stuff coming in, and then like this was a few months after, you know, it arrived, and then we're looking at them like, what's this white powder on my swimsuits? And the bags were like biodegrading in the warehouse. So then I ended up having to pay money to get them repacked in plastic. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, but then the thing is that in the warehouse, they really have to be packed individually, because that's just how they are. If you're going to sell them individually, they need to be packed individually and wrapped so that they can barcode them and send them off. So, I mean, at this point, I didn't really have an alternative. It's just the factory now that I use in China, they use very sturdy Ziploc bags. So that and then I just reuse them like a dozen times before they get used, before we throw them away. So we just keep them, and then I use them for like events and things like that. And then, so if anybody has any better ideas, then I would love to hear it.
No.
That sounds like that's about as good as it gets, right? Like as long as you do, because Ziploc is reusable. The thing I hate the most is when so all our items when they come from Indonesia, they used to be individually packed. And I'm like, there's no need for this, guys. Like, don't do it. But so I actually, but the thing is, you know, you can't run away from plastic, right? Because they are durable. And really the solution is that just make sure that you reuse it as many times as you can before it gets chucked. Yeah.
My solution is mold. So because of textile waste that's been kept in the humid Singapore climate for a long time, often mold and mildew start to develop, and then I get people who don't check what they donate to me or give to me or sell to me, whatever. And then I open up the bag and it's like, oh my God. And then and then I can't reuse the plastic that it came in, because then I'll be spreading mold to everything. Which is already kind of happening. Oh shit. Anyway, so the war with mold in my home studio environment is very major, and you end up having to use disinfectant sprays and all sorts of chemicals as well to keep it under control, because with natural fibers, silk, linen, cotton, or especially the organic stuff, it will get attacked by all these pests, silverfish, mold, moths, the very unpleasant stuff, and the smell of it as well. So definitely sometimes if I get really nasty 100% polyester, I actually use that to protect the other things. So it serves its purpose. And in the end, you're still using the plastic because it just resists everything.
Yeah.
That's one thing. I would have to agree with the cassava bags. It either turns to powder or it actually kind of melts into your product. Like then you get this like, how come there's a layer of like a crispy cracker on top of my it's like a crispy starch cracker that's stuck to my thing, stuck to the textile. It's like, oh, okay, so if I deep fry it, do I get like a snack?
Yeah, so not only your apparels are reversible and interchangeable, they are edible also.
Yeah, but they even start biodegrading in the fridge, right? Like I've tried wrapping fruit with the cassava bags, and then it actually started to fall apart in the fridge. I mean,
I thought it's only supposed to fall apart in water. Does it not?
Yeah, me too.
Sorry, in our hot
But
water.
it's so humid in Singapore that it just starts to it just starts to go. I mean, I think they're really only good to replace a single-use plastic bag, like like if you go to the supermarket and you have like one bag and you go home, and then that's about it, right?
Yeah.
So I guess reusing is the best we can do because we can't escape plastic, right? So that's a good start.
In terms of shipping and logistics, when you need to weatherproof your packaging when you're sending it to the customer, you definitely need to wrap it in plastic, don't you? Like
yes. Yes, but you reuse the plastic that you receive from the supplier, or you know, you don't like, I never buy any plastic at home or the business, same thing. And then I got my supplier to individually wrap each dress and pants and tops into a Ziploc type. So when I send it to the customer, it's a reusable bag. So I'm hoping they are reusing it themselves, but also any extra, then I can reuse at the office also. But just keeping time in check now, it's already 56. I think I want to ask you ladies, there's so many myths out there. There's so many misinformation about fast fashion and slow fashion. What is the one myth that you can bust? Maybe Adele.
And very often, I get the whole like only the privileged can do sustainability. So sustainability is for rich people, right? Rich white people. Oops, sorry, Danielle. So the thing is, I think the older generation has been doing it, thrifting and repairing and mending for a really long time. Like we just, in some ways, going back to what grandpa used to do, and they discarded because of becoming more wealthy, more well-to-do, and switching over to more convenient ways of living. But then convenience always means that you are bashing up the environment or exploiting lower wage people in some extent, to some, in some way on the other side of the world.
Right.
So I think in a way we are going back to the old way of doing things, which actually was born out of frugality and thrift. But we may actually be spending more money to reach back towards living a frugal, thrifty life. Then again, I think a lot of the freegans and the zero wasters actually will tell you that over a long term, they save a lot of money. So it's always a long-term thing, not a short-term thing. A lot of people focus on the short-term inconveniences and the short-term expenditure, but they don't see the long-term, like over the course of 5 years, 10 years, how much money you're actually saving. So it is not true that sustainability is for rich people or privileged people. But I do have to point out that it is the very privileged who are setting the rules to some extent sometimes, which then again the factories on the other side of the world, like the Chinese factories or the Indian factories, they struggle to deal with these audits that are being put in place by, the white companies like on the other side of the world. So it's very gray. Yep.
Okay, that's a good point. Yeah. Agnes, you've got a myth you want to bust.
Sustainable fashion is expensive. Right. Yeah, it is expensive compared to fast fashion. But why fast fashion is so cheap? Right, because of the labels and the quality. Because fast fashion has more quantity than our sustainable fashion. Because we sustainable fashion produce more quantity. So what do you want? Do you want quantity or do you want quality? Because quality lasts. So I mean, if you think about it, like a dress, sustainable dress costs you like $100, a fast fashion 50, but the $100 dress can let you wear like 5 years. I think it's worth it. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, cool.
5 years versus 5 wears. I think that's really a big deal, right?
Yes.
5 years, a dress. Oh my god. Okay.
Yeah. Hannah, you've got a bust?
Or
Gift to bust?
mine is so sustainable fashion will always be ugly, right? No shape. And so the fun thing is, most of the time when you work with people, like, okay, so they're so eco fashion, I guess. So when you work with handmade stuff, there's actually room for customization. So yes, sometimes you will see that it is, like a big shape. It's because it's multi-wear, right? It's multi-purpose. So what you see will be just that piece. But I don't think it's true. I'm always wearing something that, like, if you wear one piece of cloth, you can wear it into like many ways. And we have this thing that worked, which we're very happy about. That you just add buttons to that piece of cloth, and then it can make it into like different ways. It can hug you. I mean, it can be body hugging, and still be good. And of course, you look at like August Society, right? Like you have the swimwear, it's fitting. Of course, like it accentuates, and the fact that it's better quality means it also holds your shape for longer, right? So it's not true, but yes, talk to us.
But
Okay.
our bodies change over time as well. So, if an August Society swimsuit can fit me when I'm an M, and then when I'm an XL, it can still fit me, I think I'm gonna feel damn good about it.
Yes. Right?
Good point. Tony, what's your myth?
My myth is that things that are recycled are automatically dirty or used and not good anymore. So, I mean, as I've explained, so a lot of my fabrics are made from recycled waste, which is then actually regenerated into something that's brand new. So it's actually good as new. But then I also want to talk a little bit about even just secondhand or vintage clothing as well, right? Just because it's not new, brand new, it's actually new to you. And if it's high quality and it's been taken care of, then it's actually probably better than buying some cheap thing from a fast fashion brand that'll fall apart in two wears. If it's like something that was made from even like the 60s or the 70s, when before fast fashion, so it probably has been really good quality. Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, Tony, I heard a worse myth, which is that secondhand clothes are from dead people. I don't know whether you guys heard this before.
Oh.
I don't know why. It's like I heard it like here. It's like, what? Why? Like I keep buying, like, used clothes, and then people do say that, like, oh, but they're from dead people. Like, excuse me, no, I don't think so.
Wow.
Well, I mean, as long as they didn't die in that outfit, it's okay, right?
That too, right?
But is that in a particular country, or is that a belief?
I heard it in Singapore. I don't know. Does anyone can comment on that?
It is a major superstition that
Is it?
that I have had to deal with. Did
Where's the
somebody
origin?
die in this? Yeah, like because I tell people I work with secondhand garments, and then I got that a few times from some aunties, like, did somebody die in this? And then I'm like, everybody dies, Oh, sorry.
In this, no.
Sorry, I didn't say that. I just thought it. Everybody dies, right? No, but it is true, right? So, but the thing is, I think there was a scandal a few years ago in China that people were stripping the garments from the dead to resell at a profit. But
Oh my gosh.
yeah, but it's kind of I don't know.
I think effort versus profit, not very,
There's
doesn't really even
How
out.
much are you gonna get for that?
which is the more extreme version of Marie Kondo, whereby you are clearing out everything with the mindset that I'm gonna die and I don't want to leave all my crap for my children to deal with. And so, yeah, I mean, you know, change our perspective, right? Yeah,
Okay.
but if it was like every single piece of secondhand clothing somebody died in it, then our world population wouldn't be so overpopulated anymore, right?
Also, there won't be so many waste, right? Because
Yeah.
each person only, wear one item that they die in.
Yeah. Okay. Enough. Of that.
Anyways, sorry to bring that up.
Okay, so I think we're gonna do a little poll now. Peifen, should we do the last poll? And then while the attendees are looking at the questions, so now after listening to this little chat between the five of us, just wondering if the attendees think that is it possible. What do you think about the possibilities for fashion to be sustainable? Can this be the new norm, really? I mean, we wish, and we are in the industry, so we're working really hard for this to happen. But the attendees tonight, what do you think? Do you think it is possible? And while we're just waiting for the response, I just want to let you know that next week is going to be a similar talk, but it's with many of the same brands as tonight, and two more, how to green your wardrobe. So some of the brands will actually show you some outfits, mix and match. And then, yes, so this is the slides showing you the participating brand from next week. Peifen, do we have any result from the poll?
Have we lost Agnes?
Okay, so I'm very happy because the first answer was no. I don't think there will be. It's possible because people just don't care. Well, none of our attendees thought like this. That's good. 80% says I feel there is a shift in mindset now. So more people are becoming aware. This is exactly how I feel. I don't think it's sufficient. But yes, I do believe as more and more people realize now, oh, actually, I should be looking at what I'm buying. I should make better choice. And then 20%, there is no other way. We have no choice now. We're there. We've reached a no return point. We have to, sustainable fashion has to stay, has to be here for good. Yes, we wish. We're really working hard. Thank you very much, ladies. It was a really interesting chat. Thank you very much for the work that you're doing, helping spread the word and doing your share to green the planet, green Singapore, and helping everyone behind your brand, all those artisans and those small companies. Everybody's struggling at the same time. This is a very difficult time for everyone worldwide, but hang in there, keep doing good, and thank you very much for attending. Thanks, everyone.